Welcome to the Porsche Club Insider, your one stop for all things Porsche and PCA. Here's your host, Vu Gwyn, and the Insider crew.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 124. We are at PCA's national headquarters, and around the table, I have Manny and Damon Lowney. Guys, do you mind? This is a little bit tough for me that we got some news here. You know, when we first started the podcast, there were several people that wished us luck, and someone that went above and beyond that, and they knew that we needed equipment. And I just want to, pay our respects and just say that, we pass on our sincere condolences to the Fishman family. Toni Fishman, CEO of Telefunken, unexpectedly passed this past week, and it's a shock to many. And so with that, just remember, the next day is not a guarantee. Hug your loved ones. Enjoy yourself every day as you can. And to the Fishman family, we're all thinking of you. So, I brought some things to share, if that's okay. First up, have you ever heard of this? This is called a handy clamp, and I have a very specific use for this in mind. Any idea? Have you seen this before?
So, to our listeners, how would you describe that?
It's a metal tool that is basically what it will do is
Has a gear, looks like, on one end.
a gear in one end, and we'll post up the advertising or the.
I was going to say I have no clue what that thing is supposed to do, and that now that you're unscrewing the end, I can kind of see.
Can you see? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's a clamp, so.
Yeah. So if you've ever installed, and this is why I got it, if you ever installed seat rails, and sometimes you have to get that one nut in position, but you don't have an area to put your finger to hold on to that nut and have it positioned just right. So now you can drop the nut right there.
Is this magnetic?
No, but you can make it magnetic. That's what one of my friends mentioned that. Another friend mentioned you could drill a hole so that the bolt could pass through. But anyways, this one, as it comes, it doesn't have all that. But you put the nut there, tighten it up, and it tightens up pretty strong. Like you could really, torque down the bolt. Anyways, you could put that in where you need it to be, place it perfectly, and then once it's, in place, undo it, and then slide right out.
So how do you make the first few turns into the thread? Because
You can turn the bolt side. Like that's just to hold the nut side.
okay,
You know what I
I
mean?
see what you mean.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of if you have like a bolt that's going into some
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
No.
And I was like,
no.
well, how do you start the thread?
Then you would use a wrench or whatever.
Yeah.
Or a socket. Yeah. Okay, next tool. Any idea
How
what
much
this
does
is?
How much does the little seat thing cost?
We have the price on the screen. I think it was only like
Yeah, but it is
$20 or something like that. Not that much.
Yep.
Yeah. Look at this. You know what this is? And no funny jokes, Manny. This is a G-rated show. Any idea? And then
not at all, actually.
So what I'm looking at, for those of you who are listening, it is a what looks to be an end of a screwdriver handle, and attached to it is a springy wire of sorts, and on the end of that is a 1/4-inch socket attachment, and then it has this magnetic piece that attaches to it. So I have two uses for this, but the way it's marketed is once you crack open your oil drain plug, assuming it's not aluminum, you just put this onto the drain plug, and then you twist it, and then when the drain plug lets go, it stays on here, oil doesn't get on your hand, and it drains to the pan.
You know what tool I use for that?
What do you use for that?
Water and soap.
Wait, but this is much cleaner.
I was going to say, that's why I wear rubber gloves and have rags.
Or wear rubber gloves. That's what I do as well.
But you know where this tool would have come in handy, Manny, is when we were trying to align the bolt for the oil filler tube on the 996. That bolt that was underneath the alternator. This would have been perfect for it, because it would have been able to snake in there.
Now that you've taken the end off, I'm kind of saying, okay, well, that's useful. But like just for oil, that would be a tough sell.
Yeah.
But yeah, for getting a hard to reach area to start a thread, maybe. Yeah,
Exactly.
that would be very nice.
Exactly. $8 or $9.
Wow.
Another tool. There you go.
Are you buying this stuff, or are you getting it in the mail for free?
I'm buying it. I'm watching. I'm watching like my kids are like, Dad, you're such a sucker. You watch these, was it Facebook Reels or Instagram Reels? And once in a while an ad comes up. I'm like, oh, that seems pretty handy. No, actually,
So somewhere at home you have a ShamWow.
oh, I love ShamWows. I definitely have ShamWows. Okay, so the handy clamp was definitely from like a reel, but I will give props to what we call him YC, Young Chuck from our group. He brought this to our Sunday Cars and Coffee and he was sharing it with people. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So after seeing it, I ordered it. Another tool for the toolbox. All right, so let's see. What are we talking about today? We're going to start out with Cayman Boxster, ICE, Porsche, and prices for the youngsters.
Well, I thought obviously it was a big surprise to a lot of people, even though everyone had been talking about that they were going to stop production of the gas version of the Boxster Cayman. So they did announce the end is coming soon. 2025 sounds like it's the last year that you can get a gas model, then it switches to EV. But it had me thinking, what's that going to do to the entry level buyer? My entry level has always been a used Porsche.
Yep.
That's what even Porsche has said that before. That's their the economy model, if you will, is a pre-owned Porsche. And I know I got into it with I've never bought a new Porsche, so everything's been used that I've purchased. And there was a point back not too long ago where you could get into the game for a very nice car for less than $10,000.
Yep.
So for the electric cars, they're more expensive. Maybe in the future it'll become less expensive to produce. They use less parts, but as it stands right now, they're more expensive. Case in point, the new Macan that we'll talk about later, the rear-wheel drive only version, I believe, is $77,000 base.
Yeah.
And so an equivalent base model gas Macan is $61,000. So that's a pretty big delta. But that's not even a two-door. That's you're still looking at an SUV. Yeah. What do you think? Do you think it's going to affect the younger people coming into the Porsche world? Because that's a problem that we have is tracking a more younger audience.
I don't think so. I think there's so many Porsches out there that are still quote unquote drivable and can be affordable. They're not the perfect Porsche, but for a young person, and there's different types of young people in terms of the amount of money that they have and they're able to spend on cars. Because I know there are young people that kind of put two pennies together or whatever to get into the least expensive Porsche that they can. There's some of those for sure, and I still think there are cars out there for those people. But I say the young people that are well educated, haven't really gotten into kids yet, especially in the IT world, they've got some deep pockets, more so than us here around the table. And I think I see a lot. Like I saw this kid at Mikey and Mills last week roll in. He couldn't have been 25 to 30, and I know he's probably an exception, but he rolled in a GT3 RS.
Yeah, that is an exception.
It's an exception.
Yeah. I mean, I'm talking about the person who's paying off student loans, has to find housing, but is an enthusiast and dreams of owning a Porsche.
So let's take that person. That person is probably, I'm going to put them into, let's say, right at 30, the 30 age, right? So at the 30 age and that kind of stuff, if they're going to buy a regular car, regular sensible car, that's already a $35,000 to $40,000 car, because a cheap economy car now is 25 to 30.
How much was your daughter's car?
My daughter's car used.
Yeah, so I'm saying. I think people are
right.
These people are buying used.
So my daughter's RAV4 with high mileage used was still $26,000, right? So let's say take that same 30-year-old, instead of buying the sensible car that my daughter bought, a RAV4, they're, instead of paying 26, 27, let's say 30, but for $40,000 they could possibly get into a Macan, For $40,000, they could possibly get into
Well,
a 996.
Think a two-door though. You got
Okay, they can get into a
996.
They can get into a 996. They can get a 996. They can get in definitely into 944, 968. They could get into. I think there's a lot.
See, I
you
see
can't-
that pool shrinking as gas cars are because as long as gas cars were being built, that pool had a steady amount of cars that were leaving and cars that were coming in. Because remember, back in my day, it was the 944.
Yeah.
944 was the one that the entry level person bought. Now 944s aren't something you can drive every day. You're not buying a 944. Even
Yeah,
that
but
matter,
the 30-some year olds, right? Like take Willis. Willis is a perfect example. He gravitates towards. He still likes 964s, 993s, but the car that he looks for to buy is like a 996, 997. And if you look at the number of 996s and 997 that were built compared to the car like the 944s back in the day, like the numbers are much different. I think there are a lot more cars still available for these younger people.
But they haven't really dropped in price though.
But compared to Justine's $26,000 RAV4, you can get into a 996, 997, a 30-year-old, if they wanted to.
And to the point on Rob's, is that his editorial message coming out that he wrote?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, about the engine?
About the engines.
That would be very cool. Are you going to, we can talk about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it basically, our editor wrote his editor's column about the fact that Chevrolet makes crate motors, and they're very affordable. And these are motors that have a warranty. New, Chevy obviously rebuilt them, but it's brand new in a crate.
Yeah.
Porsche doesn't have that. That's affordable. They
Right.
sell long blocks,
Right.
but it's still fairly expensive. So you're pretty much someone who is a 20-year-old, early 30s buying a 996 who finds out they need a new engine is looking at a fairly expensive proposition to either have it rebuilt. And I don't even know if they sell long blocks for a 996 anymore, but I can imagine that it's not inexpensive.
I would probably say that more than electric Porsches replacing internal combustion Porsches, threatening, I guess, young people buying Porsches and joining the club and living their Porsche life is for years now, you haven't been able to get a good Porsche really for less than $10,000. And my 944,
especially a two-door.
I bought a 944 S2 in 2007 in very good condition for $8,000.
Yeah.
And then a friend of mine bought another that I was looking at in that same year, just a couple weeks off, for $5,000, and it had a very small problem. Now, we don't really have that anymore. If you're looking at a Porsche for under $10,000, whether maybe a Boxster, if you're lucky, but it's probably not going to be in good condition. And that is, I think,
harder.
It's hard. For somebody, like me, or I guess any person who, I guess I'm not in my 20s anymore, but who's in their mid-20s, they're probably not looking to spend, especially if they're getting married or have a family, they're probably not looking to spend, $20,000+ on a Porsche, maybe until the kids get out of college 20 years from now. And so they gravitate towards the $5,000 and $10,000 projects or whatever it might be.
And so what I'm talking about is not right now.
Yeah.
Because our listeners can chime in with a whole bunch of examples of that you can buy a Porsche for $10,000. I'm talking about 10 years from now.
Well, then a 718 EV will probably be the cheapest sports car.
But will it? Though? That's the thing. And will it be
I guess we'll
something
see.
that there's so many questions of electric cars. As much as I love electric cars, I'm not ignorant to the fact that there's still a lot of questions about depreciation, what batteries will cost, stuff that maybe the solutions haven't been invented yet.
Yeah. Well, and here's the other thing to consider: the younger generation and the Porsche experience. That I think the three of us here at the table, we take pride in ownership and searching for something and buying it. But I think there's models out there where a lot of the people that are going to be accessing the Porsche experience, the Porsche lifestyle, will come from the lease side.
Oh yeah,
they're going to have a lease experience.
Yeah, for a modern Porsche.
And maybe that's how they'll be able to get into it, because leasing it's going to be a lot less expensive than buying it.
Yeah, but once again, I think you're looking at people who are
not as.
I don't think
not
I don't think that kind of in late 20s, early 30s are looking at new Porsches.
No.
It's still going to be the used market. So my concern is with the end of the Boxster Cayman, which has always been the for sports cars, the entry level.
Yeah.
The base ones, not the GT4 RS versions or the Spider RS, but certainly the base versions was something that people could aspire to and say, hey, I with some financing, I could buy a new one.
Yeah.
And then watch them as they depreciate a little, and then the people could buy used ones.
Mm-hmm.
But that pool is going to suddenly shrink because there's nothing else being fed to it.
Yeah.
And will the electric replace that? There's a lot of questions.
I mean, here's what we're seeing with the electric vehicles and depreciation. These enthusiasts might be able to get into the newer ones easier than getting into the ICE ones, because the 718 or Cayman electric might not hold its value like an ICE version.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying, that 10 years from now, a 718 EV might be the cheapest Porsche.
Might be. I don't know.
If it depreciates like that.
you hope that's not the case, because
Of course not.
that's going to hurt the brand.
Absolutely.
Because people only tolerate that so long.
Right.
And the early adopters who can afford to take in the depreciation aren't going to continuously do that.
Right.
So eventually people will, unless you start subsidizing like the phone companies did with the iPhones when they came out, at some point people are not going to be happy, or they're just going to keep it for a long time until it just dies out.
I feel like for the next at least 5-6 years, the supply of cars and the prices for the ICE vehicles, again, if people buy them correctly, I think there's still plenty of cars for younger enthusiasts with not as much deep pockets. The Mart Fresh vehicle that I chose was the white Carrera white Boxster.
Mm-hmm. That was a really good one.
That was
16 for basically my car, but with a soft top.
05 was it?
Yeah. It was an 05, and it had a remanufactured engine, or a new Porsche engine, so it probably doesn't have the small single roll like Ryan's did.
Yeah.
But it does probably have the bigger bearing.
That
The
car,
Boxster
I mean,
that
for
would
a
be
young
good.
enthusiast, the car looked fantastic. Clean.
It seems like the prices are dropping.
Yeah.
They are,
Because
definitely.
I've been watching it since I'm looking for when my BMW dies. I want to get a daily, like preferably a 987.
Yeah.
And I've watched, and the prices have been going down.
You need me to pull a spark plug or something for you?
No, it's got to save a little bit more, but it's but they also the one that Rob picked, the 09.
Yeah.
That was a Boxster too, I think.
It was
It was,
a
yeah.
base 09, yeah.
That was, I think, 22, was it?
Yeah, that's another really good one, and probably saves you, the $5,000 to $7,000 in cooling upgrades and whatnot if you ever do.
Was that
things
an
like I
S or
do.
a stand? Or,
It was a standard.
yeah. So then you got the no bore scoring because you got port injection for the 09.
Yep, and because it was the 2.7 for the. So the 2.7 liter 987.1 doesn't bore score not because of the port injection, but for other reasons. The 09.
09 has only the base has port injection.
It does have port injection, but it's not the port injection, I think, that because none of the .2 cars really suffer from bore scoring. So in general, a .2 is a really good car, especially for your first Porsche. If you can pony up
MA1
$5,000-10,000
engine, and it's the sweet spot.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I think we're okay for a little bit of while. But I am excited to see what the next generation of Macan and Boxsters will bring. I know we're going to talk a little bit about the rear-wheel drive Macan and the other models that they're introducing. So hopefully it all still goes well with how those cars are received. But I was excited to drive that 718 Cayman Style Edition. What do you guys think of that car?
I love it.
Yeah, I wrote about it. I wrote about it from the aspect of would it be a good daily driver.
That's all you need. I feel like that's all you need.
But once again, I appreciate people who have the higher horsepower models.
Yeah.
But 300 horsepower in that car, that's a sweet spot for me.
Yeah.
I never said, boy, I wish I had more power. I think I would have wished I had more power if I was running twisties with guys with 4 liters,
Yeah.
then I'm sure that's where it would show that, yeah, you need more power. But certainly for commuting, when I wanted to get out of a little bit of traffic congestion, I just hit the throttle, I think downshifted it to 5th, and away we went.
You want to share with folks what we actually got?
Yeah, it was a 718 Style Edition. We talked about it a little bit last week, but that was before I think we kind of formed our solid opinions.
At the time, we hadn't driven it.
Yeah, exactly.
We were waiting
The
for a
license plate had
we were
flown
waiting
off
for a
by
new
then.
license plate.
So funny enough, I'm editing the video right now, actually, right before the podcast that will be coming out on July 18th, 718 Day. So watch it if you haven't already. If you have watched it, you'll know that I said that I would probably pick a 718 Cayman base model over my own. Let's say, price were not something I were considering, but just based on their own merits, I'd probably go 718, and that's because it's quicker, more comfortable, a little bit sportier in stock form. At least my car is sportier as it is now. And then the engine, for autocross, that's what I use my car for.
Yeah.
I would definitely be going faster in that car with no modifications,
Yeah.
I think, than in my car as it is right now. So, yeah, I'd probably go 718 Cayman with a
So-
6-speed manual, though.
Manny, you had mentioned if you were to pick a car like that for your daily grind, you would go for a manual. Is that still the case after driving the PDK?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
This the
I like
engagement.
switching the gears.
Yeah.
Maybe it keeps me awake for my 45-minute each way ride.
Yeah.
PDK is not bad. It's
excellent.
Can't complain anything about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know it is faster than the manual, but and a lot of people say an automatic is better for commuting than a stick, and that may be true. But I don't mind putting the clutch pedal in traffic. It's been really a choice. If it was a traditional slush box like I have on my Boxster now,
Yeah.
that's a different discussion. But yeah, it's all what you prefer.
Yeah, I thought it was a fantastic ride. I would want a PDK just because I don't have a PDK in my collection of vehicles, right? So I think it'd be cool to have a PDK car. It was incredibly fun. I don't know if you mentioned the color of the
Yeah,
car.
Ruby Star Neo, that's the one thing. I wouldn't do Ruby Star if it were my own, and I probably wouldn't go for the style package, which puts the stripes and the script on the side.
So I loved the color. It was tough to live with white wheels and standard brakes because they were
Oh, my
always
God.
dirty. They were always dirty. But the car, because of Ruby Star Neo, you felt like you were driving something special all the time because you could see the hints of color as you look through the front windshield and see the humps of the fenders, and when you looked into the back. But I did notice something, and I don't know how to put this, and it's not necessarily negative or positive, but it was, and it might just be a reflection of Maryland drivers. But I had noticed several vehicles drove very aggressively behind me and then like cutting me off. And I know Manny's going to say I drive slow, but it wasn't because I was driving slow. I was driving with the pace of traffic, but these cars felt like they wanted to just be very aggressive. Like they were very close to the rear bumper, and or they would like merge into traffic just assuming that you're going to brake. And I don't know if it's because of the color and they think who's behind the wheel, or because they think your car is so incredibly out there that they don't like that. I don't know. When you guys were driving, did you notice anybody being more
I
aggressive
noticed
towards you?
people looking at the car,
Looking at the car for sure.
but I didn't really drive it on the highway.
Okay.
I stayed local, and I think from what you were telling me, the experience is different.
Driving
Highway
local was a lot of, hey, I love your car,
versus- Yeah.
cameras, but it was on the highway on 95 that I experienced all this. Manny?
Nothing at all.
Well, see, usually the reason why Manny doesn't notice is because he's usually
already passed him.
He's usually the one driving aggressive, so he can't tell the difference.
No, I think I have to people drive 95 or highs,
Yeah.
smoking pot. So it's I think they care less. No one really cared about the car. But which is I guess also good because I experienced what you described, and that's not a great feeling when you have people who are just trying to either show off to their girlfriend or something by wanting to race or cutting you off or whatnot. So that's the beauty of driving a gray car.
Yeah.
Is that people leave you alone. But even with the pink car, it wasn't.
It was a cool experience. I really, excuse me, I really appreciated the interior of the 718 because it had a lot of buttons.
What did you think about the linen or chalk interior rather?
I was initially kind of nervous because it was so light, but I like it because since the day that I drove the car, it was hot, right? So the leather, I wouldn't have wanted black leather because it would have been so hot. So the light color was good, and then the vented seats.
But could you live with that? Think about that. Not just one day you have a press car.
So you know me by asking. I'm so cheap in the sense where I don't want to have something that can wear out or looks worn out early. So the answer to your question is
So it's not really being much cheap. It's just because...
no, meaning like I want something that lasts long. I always want something that lasts long, and black interiors just always last the best.
You wouldn't be able to wear blue jeans in that interior.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. You're right.
Because over time,
Sure,
your seats will be blue.
I mean, it looked very elegant.
Yeah.
And if it was a weekend car, maybe only I could see having that interior. But ventilated seats, yes,
Ventilated seats
absolutely
was
loved
awesome.
it. Used it both ways, coming and going. But I could not live with that interior. It was so easy to scuff. That.
Did you notice that the interior, although I liked it, certainly started to feel dated? And I'll tell you the comment that my daughter made when I dropped her off at the airport. She goes, "Dad, that screen is so cute. It's about the size of my iPhone."
Yeah.
But to me, I took that as that's just what I need it to be. I don't need it to be.
No, I don't want a Tesla.
I don't want a tablet. I
Tesla
want
type
it just
thing.
large enough so I can read the GPS and see my Spotify. But then all of the functions that I really want to use all the time were all buttons. And I loved it. I loved the AC controls. I loved the sport exhaust and all the other buttons that you didn't have to go through menus and menus and menus. And then the silly one, I wrote this about the Taycan is adjusting your ventilation controls, how you have to go through menus, whereas this one is the old school, just move the little slider. And I know I'm starting to sound like a grumpy boomer, and I'm not a boomer. I'm only mid-40s, but
mid-40s.
Keep saying that.
That means I also have some hair.
but I enjoy it. I think that car will be fun to drive, be easy to care for, save the light leather color for a long time.
Yeah,
I think that's one that you're going to keep in your collection of cars and enjoy it every time you drive it.
I do have to agree with Damon. I'm not big on the Porsche script. I don't like it on any cars because, quite frankly, it's. I prefer
you like
people to ask if they don't know what it is. Let them try to guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think you need to put Porsche on the side of a. I've never liked it.
I'm the wrong person to ask because decals on a car for me, 99% of the time, I would never do it myself. Even if I think it looks cool,
Yeah.
I would never do it
I didn't mind the hood stripe. That didn't
Yeah.
bother me, but the white wheels definitely. And I love white wheels. Love looking at my car. When I saw the car at the LA Auto Show, I loved it. It was
Yeah.
white. But wow,
Living with
after Damon drove it, I picked it up.
Yeah.
The wheels were really dirty, so I'm like, and I started thinking about it. I'm like, Damon only drove this for like a day and a half.
No, not even.
Yeah.
And I thought, these wheels are so dirty.
Yeah.
And I went to clean them, and oh my God. Because unlike my silver wheels, you've got to clean the whole barrel because the silver hides a lot of the dust.
Sure.
But here, you had not only the face, but the whole inside, and I thought, yeah, that'll get old really quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you appreciate the size of the 718?
So funny enough, they are 718 and a 987 in my car, 70.9 inches wide, both of them. And I forget the length, but it's less than half an inch between the two lengthwise size. They're like the same size.
I certainly felt how compact it was on the highway driving, and I liked it. I liked that it was, you could throw it into a parking spot, you could kind of zip in between traffic, and you didn't feel bulky. Felt like a glove. It was quite nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was surprised that if it would have had manual, it would have been 9 pounds heavier than my 964. That says a lot because you look at it in those 30 years between when my 964 was made, all the changes with safety. that Porsche had to add weight. The fact that it was still only 9 pounds heavier than the 964 is pretty telling.
Yeah.
I think what's more impressive, because the 964, that was kind of old school technology, so probably not weight optimized like the water cooled cars ended up being. But my base Cayman, when stock, is a hair under 3,000 pounds. And I believe the 718 Cayman, I think, Manny, you worked out that it was like 3,040 or 3,050 with the manual. So it's like 50.
So it would be
100 pounds
3042, I think, something like that. 30
manual.
Or 3040. It was 9 pounds. So 3031 was the 964. So it would have been about 3,040 pounds. 9 pounds.
Yeah. And so less than 100 pounds heavier than a Cayman from 20 years ago. When you add in safety.
Yeah, they're using aluminum, and that pays off.
Yeah.
To keep the weight down.
Yeah.
And I love the Cayman and the Boxster because they have so much usable space. So it's not a point A to point A car. You can take it on trips and plenty of storage space. And it was interesting how the car had 18 waist seats. And we thought it did have Apple CarPlay because I could not figure out. I didn't realize you had to plug it in.
Who figured that out for you?
Put the cord in. Yeah, that was. I feel.
I thought they would have had a wireless Apple CarPlay. So I'm trying to get my wireless to hooked up, but it didn't show Apple CarPlay.
I looked through the menus, and I thought that there would be a menu indicating like plug in your phone if it were there or something.
Yeah, I emailed Luke. I'm like, he goes, it's been standard since 2020 or something like that. I'm like, huh. But by the time he got back to me, we had plugged the cord in, and then Apple CarPlay lit up.
Yeah, you plugged my cord in.
Yeah, exactly. So, what mode did you find yourself driving the car in, and which mode did you enjoy the most?
So I was just driving it back roads to and from film shoots. So I use Comfort on the way there, on the way back, and Sport and Sport Plus on the back roads. I use Sport Plus on back roads just because it being a PDK, I wanted the fastest shifts. Whether that actually does anything or not, it has that feeling to it when PDK shifts faster. But yeah, I didn't really have a preference, but I'm probably one of those people who would probably just do normal mode everywhere except on a back road or an autocross.
How about you, Manny?
I did a Sport.
Sport, yeah. That's
because I don't like how the PDK shifts to such a high gear so quickly. I know they're doing an eco mode.
Right.
Maybe that might have changed once I start daily driving it a whole lot. But I prefer the Sport with the sweet spot.
Yep, exactly. For me, normal was too normal. Sport Plus was too aggressive, so I was in Sport and turned on the exhaust.
So if you were to have set the individual mode, it sounds like Vu, you would have been Comfort or normal shock settings, but Sport for the throttle.
Sport for throttle and exhaust.
Yeah. And probably the same for you. If you
I like the sportier suspension.
You did, so you would have just gone Sport all the way.
Yeah, that works fine for me. But I'm sure once you start dailying, and people who are listening that have these cars, own these cars, I'm sure they have their sweet spot for the individual, and I'm sure I would have played around. But that's the beauty of that car too. It can be a very Jekyll and Hyde car, where you can make it a comfortable eco type of mileage car, or you can turn it to a track beast.
So what I do actually, and maybe this answers the question for good, is so I'm in comfort mode or normal mode, I guess, when I'm on the highway. But what I like about newer Porsches, ever since they made the mode dial standard, is that you don't have to be in like Sport mode or Sport Plus to take, a junction or whatever. You're on the highway, your junction's coming up, flip to Sport Plus, take the turn, put it back to normal.
Yeah.
That's what I end up doing.
Yeah.
So
you can have it both ways, or three ways. And yeah. So let's talk about the news on the Macan EV and the different models that they've added to the list.
Yeah, the base Macan, which I guess would be the Macan.
You want to see your article?
Yeah, kind of, right? So we'll see how much I can do off of memory. But the base Macan has been added, so that slots in under the Macan 4, and it is a rear-wheel drive Macan. It has 335 horsepower in everyday driving. I think it's like 20 or 30 more for the overboost and launch control. Porsche also added the 4S, which slots above the 4 and below the turbo That has 442 horsepower in everyday driving, and then 509 for launch control.
Wow.
So, yeah, we have now Macan 4, Macan 4S, and Macan Turbo. So it's starting to look like a Porsche lineup of traditional. And it also answers the question of, are they introducing the Macan 4 and Turbo now and running the gasoline engine cars side by side for a year? No. They're just going to be replacing them, and
I think so. Yeah.
here are the models to replace.
What was the
two.
base price on the rear-wheel drive one? The least
77, I think.
77.
Let's get an exact number, just since we have this here. A base car, 75,300, and that's before the $2,000 delivery processing and handling fee, and the 4S is 84,900.
And that's already 330 some horsepower.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they'll be good.
Interesting
I'd have a
proposition.
Macan for
And
daily.
what kind of range on
Didn't say in the press release, but I wouldn't be surprised if
250, 275?
probably somewhere around there. I mean, the Taycan, they've always rated it, kind of
Conservative.
shortchanged it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that sounds about right.
It has the new batteries that the Taycan has, the new platform. So
Yeah, 800 volt
charging faster,
charging.
charges better in cold weather. Yeah, it's. I mean, by all accounts, they're selling very well. So this will just make the demand even more, especially with the prices coming down on the rear-wheel drive only.
Yeah, I had Macan. A base
Would you
rear-wheel
do a
drive.
rear-wheel drive only?
I would.
Yeah.
I would do it, yeah, because I mean, the way I look at it is, stepping up. Is it really worth stepping up to something that's faster for something like a Macan?
Yeah.
Given my financial situation, and I don't think it ever will be. So a base Macan is probably, why not?
Yeah, I mean, if you're worried about the snow, depending where you
Snow
live, all you got
tires.
to do is put a winter tires on it. And heck, if I can daily my BMW, which has no weight in the rear with winter tires, then Macan should be no problem at all with a set of winter tires.
I can see that as being a pretty awesome proposition for a daily driver.
Yeah.
And that's still plenty fast. It's still like 0 to 60 in 5.4 seconds or something.
Oh, yeah.
That's still plenty quick.
Yeah. Now, if you asked me, let's say 4 years from now, a Macan 4S is $35,000.
Oh, man.
Which,
Now you really got my
I
attention.
shouldn't wish for that, but
Now you've really got my
then
attention.
I'd probably go for Macan S and replace the Mazda or something like that.
Interesting.
And we'll all be fighting for the Charger in the back.
Yeah. All right, so let's go to our next piece here about Panamera setting a new record.
Yeah, it was Lars Kernigan who did the Turbo GT. Set one. This is for the. I tried to find. I couldn't find.
Don't know if it's a Turbo GT though.
No, I'm saying he did the Taycan Turbo GT.
Yeah,
I mean,
of course.
there is speculation they may call this thing a Turbo GT, but nothing. The Porsche hasn't named it yet. It probably will be called a Turbo SE Hybrid, but he did it in 724, I believe.
It was 9 second or
6
might have been
seconds. 6 seconds
6
faster
seconds.
than
6 seconds faster than the Panamera S, but about a second and a half quicker than the Mercedes that it beat to take the top spot. So it's in the luxury executive class gas hybrid division. So I tried to find a list of all these classes they have to see what other classes,
What other
but I
cars
couldn't
they have.
find exactly a list of. All I kept on running into was the fastest cars.
Yeah.
But I wanted to see how many classes, and because if you really start to do a deep dive on these records, it's very strange in the sense that a lot of them are self-policed, and there's discussions of where they start and where they stop, the timing and whatnot. But it's still the standard by which a lot of car manufacturers use to determine the performance of their car. But one of the things that Lars did say was, this car has a carbon aero kit with a four-way rear spoiler with a gurney lip, and it has the front aero, and it has the Porsche new suspension, and it was That and the Michelin tires. He gave all props to of why this car probably beat the record.
Yeah.
So it's
So speaking of Lars, the car that you got to ride in, the crazy turbo GT. Well, when are those supposed to be delivered to customers?
It's probably in my article, but I don't know off the top of my head. Probably later this
I
year.
was going to say in the fall, I think.
Because we haven't heard or seen anyone that has taken delivery of one.
No, I think
that
it's
we know
too
yet,
soon
right?
at this
Too
point.
soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see what those will actually look like, as a production vehicle.
Yeah.
It would be pretty wild. All right, so let's ask you, of course, if you're enjoying this segment, click the like button. Of course, if you have something to share, be sure to comment. And most importantly for us, as we get closer to that 100,000 subscriber mark, be sure to subscribe to our channel. In the news, you want to talk about the WEC race report?
Let's see. This was at
San Paulo?
That's right. WC came to South America. We got second place. It was, I don't know if you caught any of it. It was actually on Motor Trend TV. It was a crash fest, but didn't take out the cars. But yeah, both Penske's, I think, got sidelined and had to come into the pits. But Toyota won. But Porsche is still leading the manufacturer championship points. So I think they have 4 races left. The next one's Coda, and we're hoping for Penske Porsche because they're leading the points to be able to take the manufacturers championship. But it'll be fun to watch them at Coda to see how they do.
Yeah. All right. Next one is a very, very gorgeous looking 911 Carrera GTS.
How do you pronounce that?
Iberica?
No, the name of the car.
The name of the car?
Cuarenta.
Cuarenta.
That means 40. Celebrating. So Spain and Portugal, the distributor, they built a special
edition
GTS using the current GTS, the hybrid T-hybrid GTS. They made a 40th anniversary limited run, which will be available only to Spanish and Portuguese markets, run by Porsche Iberica. 40 cars, obviously, since it's the 40th anniversary. The distributor's going to keep one, and they're going to sell the other 39. 284,439 euro.
Wow.
Comes out to $310,000.
And what are some of the special features? Let's start with the color.
Let's see what this color was. What color is that? Green?
It's green.
All right.
Like a dark
Special
green.
feature right there.
So it was Style Porsche and Sonderwunsch who developed this car. We'll have to ask Mr. Fabig when we see him in Monterey more about this car. I would be great if they would have one, but I doubt it. They're gonna have one since it's not available to the U.S. To the U.S. market. It has this Cohiba interior that looks beautiful. The great special green paint is I looked at this word and it looks like it's pronounced Cuercos Verde. Verde being green. I don't know what Cuercos mean, but that's the name of the
color,
the special color, which is a paint to sample color inspired by holm oak leaves.
They say Cuercos is Latin for oak.
Really?
Yeah,
that's good to know. It's there's a hand painted Cuercos tree that on the anniversary badge, and plus when you open the door, when it lights up, it usually has the Porsche crest. So this is that logo they have with the tree. Black stone guards, aluminum silver trim, black wheels, featuring a touch of silver. Let's see.
Sounds like this is a trim package.
Cohiba brown, and truffle brown leather plus tartan upholstery. I think exclusive went all out on this model. So if you're in the Portuguese or Spanish market, let us know if you order one.
Yeah,
I'd be happy with a little 1/43rd scale.
I'm sure
model.
by the time it's announced, they're probably all sold.
Yes, anything like when we did our 60th, it'll probably be a lottery. Hopefully, the best customers who get it. But
Yeah, hopefully, like you said, if someone out there listening, if you get your hands on one, and we'd love to hear what you think of it.
And interesting, these I guess obviously they chose green because green has always been the family color for Porsche.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting that they also chose green.
All right, let's go on to the 2026 Porsche Cayenne.
So this was pretty cool. I don't know if you saw this, Damon, or not. They had some spy photos of the electric Cayenne, but they have these foam wheel arches. And so they use the foam wheel arches because they determine how much travel the car has, suspension travel, because they look at the foam to see how much has been eaten away, how much of it is touching, and compression and whatnot, and they can help determine. I thought seems old school, but it's pretty cool that they use something like that to determine if it's bottoming out or not. So, yeah, that was the coolest part of this photo. The car's still very much disguised, but it still looks like a Cayenne. I like how they're not like doing some of these manufacturers go out of the way to make it look like an electric car, not a gas car.
Sure.
Where Porsche is still keeping within the
strong Porsche DNA.
the family and
Remember for a while they were putting grills on electric cars so they wouldn't look like electric cars. Although I guess they have cooling systems, so
hopefully I would imagine we're going to see something on the Cayenne. It's going to become a 2026 model more than likely. So maybe early next year we'll see some word on it, and maybe it'll suffer the same fate as the Macan, where they'll make the announcement and it'll be the end of the Cayenne as well.
When you were at Porsche Hunt Valley, did you guys talk about the upcoming Macan Electric, and how's the dealer feeling with its customers, and how the salespeople, how do they feel like the shift in technology is
Not really. No, we just focus in on the gas generations of the Macan.
that was a night I think where and also if you haven't watched that video, Macan Guide, all the internal combustion engine models. If you're looking to buy one, watch it. But we had, I think, 2 hours, or I predicted it would take it'll take 2 hours, and we were there for like 3 hours, so it was just a very film this, and we didn't have a lot of time to talk with people.
Yeah, because I much like when they introduce any model, I'm sure all of their techs have to go to school and learn the new technology. So now they work on ICE, and they'll also work on EV.
Yeah, they get sent up to Easton for us up in Pennsylvania, and they get fully trained on everything new and how to work on them. And a lot of times, like when we were up in Easton, the trainers were waiting to be trained on some of these new models. I remember when we bought the car, they hadn't seen it. And Porsche brought it in, and they were like pouring all over it because they were going to be, the trainers were going to be trained on how to teach people, technicians, how to work on it. But they were really fascinated by, first thing they did was they put it on the lift, and they started going all over the car. So that's
Well, you mentioned the Macan video. I can circle back to events. You want to talk a little bit more in depth about what people can expect from the Macan video?
Yeah, so we took so Manny and I wanted to have a video piece that would go with a Porsche Panorama piece, which is in this month, the July issue. And so we went and filmed with a technician and an after-sales manager, all about the E1, E2, and E3 Macan. When I say E1, E2, and E3, it's interesting how Porsche basically splits the Macan up into 3 generations, even while maintaining that they think that it's still all one generation.
they call it facelifts.
So yeah, they're all sort of
hard to say facelift 1, facelift 2.
Yeah. But so for our purposes, there are 3 generations of the internal combustion engine Macan. The first one in the U.S. being a 2015 model going to 2018. And I think if you want the big picture, the E1 Macan, and I'll put this nicely, is probably something that I would buy cheap and then work on at my house. Find a deal on it. But if you want something that's going to hold up over the long term better than the E1 and cause you fewer headaches, go for the E2 or E3, which would be 2019 through 2024. So
Okay.
that's the big picture item right there.
Yeah, I was really surprised that we had Fred the Goldmeister Tech. Pretty much, I mean, if I was buying one, like Damon said, without a doubt, 2019 and newer.
Yeah.
Simply because it was like nothing they really worried about.
They basically said it's a tank, super reliable.
But the water pump will still go up as anything, something like that, or belt you got to replace. But it's a lot easier to work on it.
Yeah.
Where the earlier ones were labor intensive to very like.
Yeah. There's no room in the E1s, and to do a serpentine belt, the whole front end has to come off.
Not the bumper.
Yeah, the whole
Everything,
front end,
everything.
headlights, everything,
Radiator,
Water pump,
the whole 9
front
yards.
end, radiator, whole front end, timing covers, the whole front end comes off. Whereas on the E2 and the E3, there's maybe 3 more inches of room,
But enough
as
to where-
opposed to like 1 centimeter.
Wow.
In the other one, and I guess that's enough to where you can do a lot of
So
the
the
servicing
engine
like that.
design change, I guess the type.
Yeah,
change
yeah, yeah.
moved
The whole
to
new
back.
engine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks for pointing that out. I think, as you were saying, Vu, the timing chains went from the front to the back in 2019 and later, which opened up room for the serpentine belt. And
Yeah, Fred and Skyler did a great job. Then Damon did a great job editing this with our trip to Porsche Hunt Valley to capture some of the video of them saying what to look for and what changes there were. And I think so far it's been very positive comments on it. And we hope to educate people who are looking to buy a used one or a pre-owned one, just what they're getting into. Like Damon said, a first gen will be less expensive, and if a lot of this stuff has been done already, the car should be reliable. And there's oil leak issues, but if you update the bolts and the covers, then you shouldn't have that issue. So just know what you're buying.
Yeah.
deals might be out there for the DIYer on those E1s a little bit sooner than the other cars.
And I would say I would not walk away from the statements that you guys just made saying that anything older than a 2019 isn't worth entertaining as an option. It's just what we've uncovered for you is a better expectation that if you're getting an older one, then hopefully it's already had all the services that it needs, that already has had the front end taken off and things taken care of, then you're good to go. But if it hasn't, then just know that you've got to kind of put money aside, or know that maybe you're going to wrench on it yourself someday and you're going to have to take the front end. But other than that, they are still wonderful options, and people are driving earlier models and absolutely love them.
I mean, if you were to ask me, I wasn't even thinking of. So when we were filming that, and I was hearing that the E1s are just a lot harder to work on for certain things, my mind was going, "Ooh, that's really good," because
It's an
that
opportunity.
means that 5-10 years down the line from now, I could pick one up for probably not much and do it myself. So,
And the great thing is they don't like just what Porsche is famous for is there's no radical redesign during the 10 years. So honestly, I didn't know that much about Macans other than just reading some guides and whatnot. But being able to tell from the first gen to the second gen just by the taillights, I realize how easy to spot now. But the bodies and everything are so similar.
Yeah.
That once again you can buy a 2015 and your neighbor's probably going to think you bought a new one.
Sure. Especially one that's been well cared for.
Yeah, it doesn't typical Porsche. They evolve. They don't have revolutions and design. So like Damon said, you can get if you're willing to. If you're a DIYer, then Gen 1 may be perfect for you.
One of our viewers commented, and I had noticed this, but I didn't think of it as much as until he posted his comment. Tom Brown has a Macan S that's in gold, bone stock. Sounds incredible, that car. Like, it sounds like it's got some aftermarket, burbly, crazy good exhaust. And I even asked him one time, like, did you put an exhaust on this, Tom? He's like, nope, it's stock. But a later model Macan S, Paul Gentili's, does not have that same sound.
2.9s don't sound great. I mean, that's probably sounded harsher than I meant it to be.
I was about to say
they
that.
sound very good, but it's a clear step down from the earlier V6 engines.
Audio
from
wise.
the
Audio
from
looks
the
like
audio side of things.
yeah, those early 3-liter, that exhaust.
Yeah, it's kind of like what is it? The 981 3.4 liter Boxsters and Caymans with the factory sport exhaust, compared to even a 718 GTS 4.0 right now.
Right.
I would say that the earlier cars sound even better.
At full song, they sound crazy good.
So yeah.
So I didn't think about that until someone posted. I'm like, you know what? He's right. He's absolutely right. So again, we appreciate the comments. That we do read each and every one of them. Any other videos you want to talk about that's coming up?
Yeah, we had that 7.8. Well, by the time you're listening to this, 718 video will be out. So give that a watch if you're interested in the 2024 Style Edition. And I also compare it a little bit to my 987 Cayman. The Macan Guide is another good one. And we also, it hasn't come out yet, a little bit stacked this week, but we do have a parade filmed Nathan Murr's Tech Tactics Live that will be coming out in the next week or so.
Yeah, you didn't get to attend our weekly content meeting this
not
week,
this time.
but we did, and we were looking at the board. There's a lot of videos out there to come. So for those of you that enjoy watching our videos on YouTube, there's a lot more to come. So stay tuned.
Yep.
All right, let's go into. Oh, before I go into events, I just want to remind you, if you haven't signed up for PCA's newsletters, go over to pca.org. You can join with eBrake, Mart Fresh. You can join and have performance news delivered to your inbox. It's all free, again, over at pca.org. Earlier today, the crew, we were all around the table and getting ready for Werks Reunion, as we are sending out all of the car corral as well as judge vehicle passes. We'll see you there Friday, August 16th. Looking forward to that. By the time you're listening to this, probably will be well packed for Treffen at Sea, Alaska. So we are going to be heading to Alaska with over 850 PCA members. We will be announcing soon the destination for our cruise in 2025, so stay tuned for that. But in between now and the 2025 cruise, I just wanted to remind people, because some people, for some reason may have done Alaska or can't make a date or something like that. If you're interested in cruising with Princess Cruise Lines, you can use the dedicated PCA concierge to book any Princess cruise that is out there, and you get all the benefits that we have on our trips. So again, if you're not able to come on the ones where we put together, but you have an itinerary, a Princess Cruise itinerary that you're interested in, you can still use that same PCA Princess Cruise direct line, and they'll take good care of you. All right, registration for unStock. We are preparing for that. Registration opens September 4th, and the event itself is November 17th. Announcement, our Grand Marshal. You want to let them know who our Grand Marshal for unStock will be?
Probably one of the godfathers of modifying your car.
Absolutely.
Especially back in the day. If you had a car that was touched by Endal, or you had an Endal sticker showing that you took it to that magical place. Part of the three-person team that was Endal was Alwyn Springer.
Yes, that's right.
He became the first, I think, president of Porsche Motorsports. So he's going to be the Grand Marshal.
Yes,
be there.
He's looking forward to it. He's going to bring a special ride to join us, and we're definitely looking forward to that. If you have Andial stuff that you want signed, we'll have an autograph session with him.
And he has a very good signature, so there'll be a line because he takes his time doing his signature.
Yeah. Not only does he take his time, but he typically uses a ruler and lightly scores a pencil mark. Then he signs, and then he goes back and erases the pencil line, like that precise. So if you are able to get in line and get an autograph from Mr. Springer, totally worth it.
Or get his book that came out, was it last year?
Yeah, his books are sold out, so you'd have to get it
you can,
somewhere on the...
He'll get a third party, I'm sure, but that'd be a great place to have an autograph.
Do you want to share with them our little new thing that we're going to do at unStock that we're...
Oh, your idea? I like it. It's So the details, I guess, are still being worked out, but
We can give them the general concept.
the whole concept is who has the best sounding exhaust.
Not the loudest.
Nope, it's the sounding. We're not going to have a decibel meter. We're not looking for loud, because loud does not mean good.
Yeah.
It's best sounding exhaust.
I don't think the exhaust cares if it's for sound rather than loudness.
It's because, as we talked about, some sport exhausts sound better than other ones. But this is the aftermarket, whatever you want. If you think you have a good sounding exhaust, bring it. We're going to have three judges.
Three judges, yep.
Including an audiologist.
An audiologist.
Kef.
And we're doing this with Kef Audio, one of our high-end audio sponsors that you've probably seen them at Porsche Parade. You've seen them at Werks Reunion. But they wanted to be part of unStock as well. So this is sort of a collaborative, cool exercise, and I think people will enjoy. We'll pick a handful of cars, bring them to the stage, have some key people judge them, and it'll be fun to do.
Yeah, I think it'll be a nice interactive type of event. And who doesn't like to listen to an exhaust? Yes, I'm sorry, EVs.
We'll have to
Guess you
figure
don't
that
qualify.
exercise for the next one.
Yeah. Hyundai and their you
Oh,
see
yeah,
their
yeah,
new EV, and
yeah.
they mimic ice cars.
Yep, exactly.
Anyway,
This next event is has to do with CBR. I'm going to let you bring it up.
So Dave Vaccaro, the CBR, I think he's the driver's ed chair. Did I get that right?
Yep.
They have an event he asked me to promote on the podcast up in Lime Rock. It's this year, Saturday, August 3rd. It's called Porsches at the Rock because obviously it's at Lime Rock. It's multiple events in one day. Of course, they're doing a driver's ed that day, but they also have an autocross and a cars and coffee. A lot of Porsches on display. And they have parade laps too. So you get to do, it's not qualifying laps. So someone who's never been on the racetrack, this is perfect because you just drive highway speeds behind a pace car and you get to drive Lime Rock. And if you've never been to a racetrack or driven on Lime Rock, heck, as much as I've raced, I still like to do a parade lap on tracks I've never been to if I have the opportunity. I'm never going to turn down the chance to do a parade lap. And you can put a maximum of 4 people in your car. If you have a 4-seater, that doesn't mean you're going to put 4 people in a 914. But if you do have a Macan or a Panamera or Cayenne, or I think they probably allow I don't know if they allow any car, it just has to be Porsche. They're going to have a swap meet as well. So a lot of things going on one day here at Lime Rock. And I think it's a great event for people who are new to the club. If you want to see what PC is all about, the camaraderie, come out, bring your family. It's if you don't want to do the autocross and just watch a driver's ed and see what these events are like and meet members, this is a great event. Lime Rock's a beautiful track.
Yeah, so for those of you that are listening and you want more event for this, just head over to cvrpca.com and go to their events listing, and you'll find Porsches at the Rock and all the details on it. And if you want to do the parade laps, I believe you want to pre-register. There's a link for that. Pre-register for the laps as well as the swap meet.
Yeah, definitely sign up for the laps. It's not competition. You don't have to, like I said, it's not racing on the lap. It's just going highway speeds.
Right. And if you want to go racing, but you don't have a car or you're not heading to the track and you're just going to stay home, then PCA Sim Racing is where it's at. With the last podcast, we talked about the 24-hour race. I think it really wiped out Jim because he has not been feeling well since doing that, staying up for 24 hours. He's just, I think he threw something off balance. He hasn't been right. He hasn't been right since that race. So
I got injured doing sim racing.
So I wish him well. But yeah, if you're interested in doing some real racing, even though you're not driving on a real racetrack per se, the group in the sim racing crew, they're super amenable to teaching you the ropes and showing you how to get started. And there's some serious competition out there, so check it out. Next, I want to make sure we mention that we have the PCA Insider Store with bottles, T-shirts, and mugs. Just head over to pcawebstore.org and get your Insider swag there. If you want a PCA Insider decal, all you need to do is send an email to podcast@pca.org. Send us your address information, and we'll make sure we get some decals out to you so you can rock and support PCA Insider, be it on your car, on your favorite toolbox, or maybe on your fridge in the kitchen or something like that. Anyways, gentlemen, anything else before we sign off?
Nope.
All good? All right. Well, thank you for listening. If you aren't currently a PCA member and own a Porsche, what are you waiting for? Grab your VIN, head over, and we'll get you set up. For those of you that don't currently own a Porsche but want to open up some resources and get some advice on how to best get a Porsche on your driveway or in your garage, join the test drive program. Again, at pca.org. Remember to follow our podcast Instagram page, behind the scenes photos and videos, Porsche Club Insider, all one word. You can always send us a message at podcast@pca.org. Remember to stay in touch with everything PCA, all of our free newsletters, pca.org/newsletters. Until next time, stay safe and we'll catch you down the road.